In the previous lesson where we discussed about function of kidneys, we had talked about homeostasis, and we did discuss that it is to be discussed in great details when in terms of kidney. Now, first of all, let us recall what is homeostasis. In case you don't know about it, homeostasis is the process which a human body conducts in order to maintain a constant environment inside it. Now, first and foremost, constant environment criteria that the body needs to maintain is temperature. So, we have thermoregulation that is present, and that is carried out by various thermoreceptors and blood flow, which is a different concept altogether. Second is the osmoregulation, that is the homeostasis that is to be maintained by body fluid level and their contents, and that is carried out by kidney. So, there are various mechanisms which are involved in homeostasis for maintenance of constant environment, and when we study about the homeostasis which is carried out by kidney, we confine our study towards blood pressure and blood volume basically, and of course the water content of the blood, that is important. So, how does kidney regulate that? How does kidney get involved in that? What are the various regulatory mechanisms? And whenever we are talking about regulation, we have to pay attention towards some or other excretory endocrine systems which have a crucial role in regulation of functions of kidney. So, what we are going to study over here is the regulation of homeostasis and regulation of kidney by various hormonal mechanisms, and what are the those regulatory checks, or you can say regulatory functions, that is the hormonal feedback circuit which is present inside the kidney, which regulates whatever blood pressure and water content is to be maintained by kidney in order to carry out homeostasis yet again. So, the first one that we study is control by ADH. Now, one by one you will be introduced to few terms which you have to remember by heart. First thing is ADH. What is ADH? Because it is hormonal feedback circuit, so we are talking about hormones. This ADH would be a hormone. It is anti-diuretic hormone. The other name for ADH is vasopressin. Now, in case you have studied about endocrine system earlier, or if you haven't, you would know that this is vasopressin. This hormone is secreted by, not secreted, it is formed by hypothalamus. That is an important part of our brain. Hypothalamus forms this ADH. It is sent to pituitary gland. So, we call this as a pituitary hormone which is released, and when it is released when the osmolarity of blood increases. So, basically this hormone is anti-diuretic. Anti means opposite, diuretic, diuresis means more of urine. So, this hormone is also known as thirst inducing hormone. Now, what happens inside our body is that there is a proper feedback circuit that we have over here. How this feedback circuit comes into function, for that you need to understand the entire functioning of kidney. You know that kidney reabsorbs water and other electrolytes from the filtrate that enters the PCT and DCT. Now, apart from this, there are certain receptors in our body which respond to the content of the blood, and those receptors are present in hypothalamus. The name for those receptors is osmoreceptors. Now, these osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus, they sense an osmolarity increase in the blood. That means blood is more having more electrolytes, that is the water content in the blood is lower. When this water content in blood is lower, that means more of water is being thrown out in the urine. That means the urine is dilute, the water which is required by the body is being given out in the urine. That happens primarily in the summer season when we feel more and more thirst. That is because of this ADH. This is thirst inducing hormone. The osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus have sensed some sort of increase which is not suitable for blood. That increase is in the osmolarity of the blood. That means blood is more concentrated. It is not having as much water as it requires. Now, how to get that water balance back? The water balance would be brought back in the functioning of kidney itself, the kidney will have to reabsorb more water from the filtrate which have entered PCT, so that it does not get wasted and is thrown out of the body. So the osmoreceptors in hypothalamus, they sense the osmolarity increase if it goes beyond 300 milliosmol per liter. That is the positive feedback towards this hormone release. The osmoreceptors in hypothalamus, they stimulate the pituitary to release ADH, that is vasopressin. This ADH, it goes to the collecting duct of the kidney. Over there, it induces more tubular reabsorption of water specifically. The water gets reabsorbed, okay, and the blood osmolarity is restored. Apart from that, when the person drinks water, because the thirst was induced by these receptors, when the person drinks water, the water content in the blood has to increase automatically. So drinking water and this more tubular reabsorption, it works as the negative feedback which stops the release of ADH, so that the ADH is not released, because the osmolarity has been restored to the levels where it was supposed to be. So this is about the feedback control by ADH. Second, what we study is the control by juxtaglomerular apparatus. Now you know what is juxtaglomerular apparatus? It is the glomerular part which is in close proximity with PCT, highly coiled PCT, that forms JGA. We have studied about it in kidney structure. Now this JGA has a special mechanism of RAAS, that is renin. This renin is not double NIN. This is renin that is secreted by kidney. We have another renin in our study, that is RENNIN, and that renin is digestive hormone. This renin is that is a digestive enzyme basically. This is an endocrine hormone which is secreted by juxtaglomerular cells. The renin angiotensinogen aldosterone system. So this is RAAS. This RAAS is, you have to remember how it comes into functioning, what is its homeostatic role. Whenever there is lower blood volume or blood pressure, this system will have a positive feedback. That means the release of the above mentioned hormones would take place if the blood volume and blood pressure is lower than what is required inside the blood. Now what happens over here is that whenever there is lower blood volume or lesser blood pressure, there is secretion of renin. Alright, the renin that is secreted by JGA cells. JGA cells, they sense that the blood pressure or the blood volume of the blood that is present in the afferent arterioles, that is lower. So what happens is renin is released. Renin, in the sense, when it gets released, it is an endocrine hormone, it gets into the bloodstream and brings about release of angiotensinogen. Now you have to remember that this angiotensinogen is a hormone that is present, it is a protein basically, the protein that is present inside the blood plasma. This angiotensinogen is converted to angiotensin II. Now both of these both are present in blood plasma. First thing you have to remember, this renin, it facilitates conversion of angiotensinogen to angiotensin II. So basically, as we see in blood clotting, that there were certain proteins and enzymes which were coming facilitating conversion of one protein to other. Same thing happens over here. These two proteins, they are present inside the blood plasma. Renin, which is secreted by JGA cells, comes into the bloodstream. It converts angiotensin to angiotensinogen to angiotensin 2. Now this angiotensin has the function of bringing about contraction in arterioles. Alright, we have afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole would undergo contraction. So basically this is responsible for arteriole contraction in the kidney. Alright, angiotensin brings about atrial contraction, and because of the contraction, the blood pressure, which was lower earlier, that increases. The blood pressure is restored. Now you see that renin has brought about the contraction and the blood pressure is restored. Apart from this, this angiotensin release inside the blood is sensed by adrenal gland. You see, all things are working hand in hand so that homeostatic mechanism is carried out. The adrenal gland is sensing this arteriolar contraction and at the same time the blood pressure. Angiotensin is present in the blood, that is being sensed by adrenal gland, and the adrenal gland is stimulated to release aldosterone. Aldosterone is a cortical hormone of adrenal gland. This aldosterone basically goes and reabsorbs sodium ions from distal convoluted tubule. Alright, sodium ion reabsorption takes place in DCT when the aldosterone is released. Now one thing you have to remember, why this aldosterone got released from the adrenal gland is not because of the arteriolar contraction, it is because of the reabsorption brought about by angiotensin 2 of sodium chloride and water. The reabsorption increases in the PCT. Now we are going to put all the things together. We have seen that what happens first of all, lower blood volume or blood pressure is being perceived by the juxtaglomerular apparatus. The juxtaglomerular apparatus, it releases renin, which converts a plasma protein of angiotensinogen to angiotensin 2. Now once angiotensin has been formed inside the blood, what happens is there is a contraction in the arterioles so that the blood pressure is restored. Apart from that, this angiotensin 2 brings about reabsorption of sodium chloride and water from PCT so that the blood volume is restored. Not just the blood pressure, blood volume is also restored, not reduced, because it was lower earlier. Now when this reabsorption takes place from PCT, it is sensed by the adrenal gland and in return it releases aldosterone, which brings about reabsorption of sodium ions from the DCT. So basically we have all these 4 steps which take place, and this is known as RAAS. So you see that whenever the blood volume or blood pressure was lower, it was restored by the kidneys mechanism of RAAS, where the various plasma proteins and an endocrine hormone known as renin, apart from that aldosterone, these were involved, where they have brought about the restoration of the blood volume as well as the blood pressure. Now one thing more you have to remember is that there is a hormone which is released by heart, the walls of heart, that is known as antinatriuretic factor. ANF is released by heart walls. Now this ANF acts antagonistic to RAS. This you have to remember. Whatever changes were brought about by RAS, because it was working in response to lower blood volume and lower blood pressure, ANF, because you know ultimately the pressure has to come to heart whenever there is more blood pressure or blood volume, it tries to restore the blood volume and blood pressure. which was carried out by RAS. Now because it is bringing about blood pressure to a higher level, in case it goes beyond, this ANF would come and act antagonistic to RAS, because this is working to restore the blood pressure. ANF would try to reduce the blood pressure in any case, because blood pressure has its further consequences and ultimate consequences on heart. So heart also has an involvement, so that it regulates the blood pressure in case there is some sort of discrepancy that is brought about by RAS. So we see that there are three feedback mechanisms which are working hand in hand, so that the regulatory mechanism of kidney, that is homeostasis, that is performed by kidney for maintaining the blood volumes and blood pressures, and apart from that, electrolyte balances inside the blood, that is maintained. So this is all about homeostasis by kidney and the various hormonal circuits which are involved in homeostasis by kidney.